Destin, exercise.
I'm ready, Matt.
Here in my left
Like
hand.
push-ups or what?
We could.
No.
That gets my energy up. Do you want to?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you don't have to.
Bought a kettlebell the other day, though.
Did you?
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it.
Well, you're supposed to lift it up. You gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not with your back.
What's with the paper in your hand?
I
What are
got
those
this
little
paper.
pieces of paper?
I wrote words on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of paper.
Okay.
This is not a sentence. This is just a phrase. There's some adjectives and a noun. And I just want you to take these pieces of paper right here that I got.
Like the pieces of paper, when you arrange them, make a...
Yeah, there's just...
Why are you shuffling them?
Because I just want to see what order feels natural to you.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you these. You can read what the words are. You want to just put those in order. See what seems best.
Okay. I'm going to lay the paper out.
Okay.
How many pieces are there?
I think there are 8. I think
Okay.
there are 8.
So I've got brown,
Mm-hmm.
Swiss,
Mm-hmm.
or if I look at it upside down, it's SSIMS, like Sims.
Oh, like the fly fishing gear. I meant Swiss.
Okay, brown, Swiss, chalet,
Mm-hmm.
little, old,
Mm-hmm.
quaint,
Mm-hmm.
square.
Yeah.
Okay, so brown, Swiss, chalet, little, square, old, quaint. So I'm supposed to arrange these.
In a way that feels good to you. What feels best?
Okay, so I see 2 nouns. I've got square and I've got chalet.
Okay.
Okay, and then I've got some adjectives here. I've got brown, old, quaint, Swiss, and little.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wish I had a verb.
You don't.
Okay, so I just arranged these. Okay, on it.
Treat square like an adjective. Don't treat square like a town square.
So treat chalet like a noun.
Chalet is a noun.
Chalet is a noun. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what a chalet is?
It's like a little cabin kind of thing.
Yeah, like a little Central European little mountain cabin thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little brown. Oh, okay. I get the exercise now. Little brown. Little quaint brown. Old square Swiss chalet.
Experiment a little bit. Like there might not be a right or a wrong here.
Little quaint brown. Old square Swiss chalet.
If those were all the things you wanted to communicate someone to describe a thing, what order would you put those in?
I'm just trying to... Oh, yeah. There was this little old... this little brown, quaint, old square Swiss chalet. Little brown...
Hopefully the third chair is all running the exercise right now, too. That is the intent.
Swiss... Square, quaint, Swiss chalet. Yeah. It's hard because the adjectives can go anywhere, but I feel like Swiss needs to be right before chalet.
Okay.
For some reason. Little old Swiss brown chalet. No, Swiss has to be before.
I think so too.
Chalet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so we're gonna go little brown, old square, quaint. No, little
That quaint's giving you trouble, isn't
quaint needs to come up to the. No, quaint little. We're gonna go. It's a quaint little brown, old square Swiss chalet. Little square, quaint little square is weird. I wish I could not have square here. Quaint little brown, old square Swiss. Quaint little square, old brown. There it is. Got it.
Okay, what are you going with?
Quaint little square, old brown Swiss chalet.
Did you know there's actually an order for adjectives in English?
Is there really?
Yes.
Quaint,
And you nearly just intuited
one
it.
sec. Quaint little square. Square is the one I probably messed up. Quaint. Square little quaint old.
Now think about it. Two of the words on here always go together. Two of these adjectives are almost, when you describe something,
Quaint little.
think about like an older gentleman. Like there's an older couple out there. He's just
Like an old Swiss.
it's a little old man.
Little old.
Like it always goes in that order, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. It's actually correct. You wouldn't say old little man.
Yeah, little old man. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Little Red Riding Hood.
So square is, well,
Okay, so this is my phrase. Quaint little square old brown Swiss chalet. Square feels weird.
square does feel weird.
Okay.
Here's how it works. Adjectives go in the following order. Opinion, quaint.
Okay.
Like what makes something quaint? If the person saying the word thinks it's quaint, that's it. So you're correct. Opinion goes first. You nailed it. Number 2, size. Little. That's exactly it. It's a quaint little cabin. But you got it. Age is what would be next.
A quaint little old.
Just like little old man, little old lady.
Okay, I'm taking square out. So square was wrong.
Shape is next.
Is it? Oh, man. Okay.
Quaint little old square. Color. You
No
got it.
way.
Origin,
Are you serious?
Swiss. And then material, which I left off. So like log, chalet. And then the noun is after that. Or purpose would be after that. Opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose, then the noun.
Like that is grammatically correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me read the final version here. Quaint little old square brown Swiss chalet.
Now,
Yeah,
let's
that does
screw
feel
with
right.
it. Put quaint by chalet and move Swiss all the way to the front end. Now switch old and little.
Old and
Now get ready for chaos. Read that one.
Swiss old little square brown quaint chalet. I hate it.
How can that feel so wrong, right?
I know, right?
Because it's just a clump of adjectives. Who cares, right? Except apparently there's an order to this, and it's one of those things about language that you just gradually absorb over the course of your life. I mean, how many moving parts did that have? 9? I gave you 7 of them.
Yeah.
And you were one off, never having had this explained to you, just from soaking in English your whole life. And a jillion little phrases that you've heard over the course of your life informed what felt right, and you were able to intuit that. And square probably wasn't the best choice. That's a complicated one. I think that's what threw you off. I could have picked a better description of the shape that would have been more interesting and made it fit better. Isn't that trippy?
That's really weird. Where did you read this?
I saw it on a tweet. You familiar with Twitter?
No.
Oh, it's a place where all the people get together now. And it's, well, let me ask you another familiar. Have you heard of Utopia?
Yeah, that's like where the earth is perfect and everybody lives in harmony and
It's
peace
like
together.
that, except it's on the internet.
Oh, so it sucks.
Yeah, I only follow one person, so I really don't know.
Yeah.
Twitter can be great. It's about who you follow. And every now and then, I encounter little gems like this where I'm like, wait a dang minute.
So who tweeted this?
Wait a minute. That totally works. I have no idea. It's one of those things like somebody liked it.
Yeah.
And then you get or like so-and-so follows somebody who tweeted this thing. But I did a little digging. This has been floating around the internet since forever.
I love it. Thank you for showing me that. Did you pick the words?
I did. Yeah.
So you just like went through the list and just said, I need a color, brown.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. And then I assumed I would have guessed going in that you'd be off by maybe one or nail it. And
Dude, your vocabulary is so much better than mine. I would have never, as a man from Alabama, picked chalet.
okay, well, here was my thinking. I wanted to lob you a bit of a softball because what are chalets? Like, what is the modifier that always goes with chalet?
Ski.
French or Swiss, maybe ski.
Okay, so,
Right. But
I don't know.
I mean, there are certain words that almost always go with a thing. Like, what do you gird?
Your loins.
Right. You just don't gird other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
What do you prenuptial?
You do that to agreements.
You do that to agreements.
Yeah.
That's all you do that to.
Yeah.
Sure. You only bolster bullpens. You don't bolster anything. Just bullpens in baseball. You go and you sign another reliever. Now you bolstered the bullpen.
Can you do more? I'm really enjoying this.
I think I'm out. What do you
God,
got?
that was so good. Did you just do that from memory?
No, I've thought about that for a long time, and I know I've thought of more, but I tried to write some down. I don't have any. Oh, no, I did have one from the other day. The Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. Do you know what you do to the Stanley Cup after you win it?
You get a day with it.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But there is a verb that describes what you do. You do not lift it. You do not raise it. You do not hold it up.
You clinch it?
No, I just tried that, and it did not require a Stanley Cup. No, you hoist the Stanley Cup.
Hoist the Stanley Cup.
Hoist
Aloft.
the Stanley Cup. But you can also like hoist up a kid to look over a fence, or you can also hoist the sails.
Yeah.
But in terms of the action performed on the Stanley Cup, it's hoisted. So I just think it's kind of fun that some words just glom on to other words, like on and glom.
Right.
What else do you glom? You glom on, right?
Dude, I love this.
Are you having fun?
I really am.
Okay, because I'm having fun.
I am too.
So here's the thing that I've been thinking about lately. My wife, who is a saint, I think she is a genuinely wonderful human, not without flaws, but I just think she's great. And one of the things that I think is great about Camilla is that when we were kids in the 90s and getting to know each other, we would go through the drive-thru.
Is this big hair Camilla that when you were getting to know big hair Camilla?
Oh, Destin.
Yeah?
Huge hair Camilla.
I do not like the look in your eyes.
It wasn't like kind of big hair.
Yeah?
It was Tina Turner. No, bigger than Tina Turner's hair. It was just insane, like something from The Simpsons. She had huge hair. It was baffling to me, but also strangely attractive. So she and I are getting to know each other. We got a Wendy's down the street there in Chicago where we lived, and we're the poor people in the incredibly rich neighborhood where all the Chicago Bulls and Bears live, and Mr. T and Robin Williams, like all these famous people all around all the time. You run into them everywhere. And we can't go to any of their restaurants because we're impoverished. Like if we have $50 to our name at any point in college, that's amazing. And so we go down to the Wendy's because they had the 99-cent meal back then. You get like the chicken nuggets or the junior bacon cheeseburger. And we just live on that and cups of water.
Mm-hmm.
So we drive down there, and back then, I don't know what the heck our problem was, and I feel a little bad outing her for this, but I think she'd be okay with it. I don't think we were racists. I think it just irritated us that the people at Wendy's didn't speak English. Like, you're in America, you know?
Okay.
America. It's the 1990s. Love to have you here. That's great. But let's learn the language so I can get my junior bacon cheeseburger just the way I want it.
My opinion has changed on this.
Okay.
Not that it was ever the other way. I just remember laughing at a John Wayne meme before memes existed. And it was John Wayne in black and white with his hands on his hips, said, "Now why in the heck do I need to press 2 to habla English?" I remember laughing at that.
Okay, well, I just laughed at it.
Yeah, yeah. And now I'm like, hey, man, I really like using Spanish now because it's the working language.
How about that?
I think it is, but I don't know. I feel like we're in dangerous territory here. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this.
Why? No, I don't think we are at all. I think there are realities about planet Earth. And when you get to a situation where you're so concerned that just even touching a topic could just make somebody mad because they're just arbitrarily conditioned to just get mad for no reason, then you don't talk about things that are beautiful and that are true and that are good. Here's the reality, dude. There's this weird imbalance that exists between the Spanish-speaking Latin American world and the United States and Canada. And it created this weird osmotic pressure that still exists where people flow in one direction up from Latin America for the opportunities that have existed. I don't know where the United States is going next. Things don't look particularly wonderful economically right now, but still a lot of economic freedom here, and it's still a desirable place to be. Well, one of the problems with that migration is it's a different language, and it's hard to learn a second language. And learning English is much harder than learning Spanish because English, well, look what we just looked at. English has a lot of quirky rules. And
Spanish has less words.
Spanish has a degree of structural predictability that taught me more about English than English classes taught me about English.
What do you mean?
I mean, I did not appreciate all the weird ways English breaks rules. I didn't appreciate how much English was drawn from Germanic languages and Latin languages and has loan words from all over planet Earth. It's just a weird language, but it's also what makes the language so dang effective. It can bear so much weight. It's equipped to handle any set of concepts that humans have thought of, English can bear it. Not all languages can boast the same. There are other very effective languages with very broad shoulders that have the structural integrity to take you to very complex places, to take you to places that can only exist because of the quirks and complexity. You're drawing on the best of all of these different language schools, these different language families to be able to do it. So English is awesome, don't get me wrong, but it's very, very hard. It's also loaded with potential, not just economically if you can learn it, because it can bear so much in terms of abstraction and thought.
What's difficult to me about I know you've taught children how to read English.
Sure.
And there are so many foibles in the language.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I before E except after C.
And except when it's not. That should be the rest of the rhyme.
We live in a weird society.
Right.
Right.
My friend Adam's
Those
username on Xbox is still WeirdAlFan76. Like, what are you doing there, man, with your username? Oh, I couldn't believe it. Like, Weird Al Fan was available. That's Wired Fal. Wired Al.
That's so great. I before E, man.
I before E, except after C, except when it's not. That's the
or
rhyme.
when sounding like A as in neighbor or way. But there's so many, so many rules that just don't make sense. What about German? Let's do this. So I know you're fluent in English.
I am fluent in English.
I am barely fluent in English.
Come on.
You're fluent in Spanish.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
I've seen you operate in Spanish. I am the decider of who's fluent in what, and right now I've decided that you're fluent in Spanish.
That is super nice. I'm not.
Okay. You're also fluent in Italian.
That is super generous. I am not.
Let me ask you this. If I dropped you in Italy right now, boom, just dropped you in Italy, you woke up like Skyrim in the back of a cart or something.
Oh, a nice reference.
Thanks. I've never even played it.
I loved it.
Yeah, you woke up and you're in Italy, and you're like in Top Gun Maverick. You just kind of show up like in your spaceman outfit to the local. Could you get anywhere you needed to go?
Yes, absolutely.
You're fluent.
No. 5 years ago, my Italian was in a very good place. Like, I can conquer the world. I can talk about philosophy if I feel ready. I haven't spoken to anybody in Italian since then. Like, I just feel words dripping away, and I review it almost daily, but I don't retain it. Spanish, I can speak with my wife. I run into Spanish speakers a lot. We travel in Latin America, and so Spanish sticks, but my Italian, it's one of my great sorrows. For example, I passed the entire Italian course on Duolingo twice just for fun.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could do that right now.
Really?
No. I haven't. Okay, look, the way you soaked in English to be able to put these words in order, quaint little old, whatever it was, Swiss chalet, I've maybe just barely been around Spanish enough to absorb a little bit of that, to just feel it, but I haven't been around Italian nearly enough. And so the second I'm not around it, it starts to go away because it's not in my pores. It's not in the fabric. I don't have it that way. So I really appreciate the vote of confidence. I'm really not being fake humble. My Italian was good, and now it's garbage.
So every time I've ever made a leap forward in a language is when I've been immersed in it.
Yeah.
Particularly on like a carpentry crew in Honduras.
Yeah.
Or, I remember roofing a house in Honduras and learning a lot then. And simple words, wood, metal, hammer, clavos, nails, whatever. The nouns that I possess in Spanish all have to do with building stuff.
How about that? Yeah, building stuff and swears.
Not really swears. I'm usually around really good people in these languages.
Oh, because only bad people swear.
I do have to tell you a story. I'm going to Peru with my son in a few weeks. Very excited about just getting down there with the boys. It's not forgotten.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
Yeah. The
check in on that Arapaima for me.
I will.
I want to know.
He's probably massive right now.
No, it's so exciting.
So for the third chair, Not Forgotten is a really cool orphanage organization, notforgotten.org. I love the organization. But we're going down to visit, and I'm excited to interact down there poorly in Spanish. I'm really looking forward to it.
You made a big investment in Spanish, going to Costa Rica, practicing your Spanish by selling crabs on the beach.
That was my son.
Well,
same son I'm taking, by the way.
Same last name.
Yeah.
I mean, those are tricky times.
Yeah, I'm taking him to Not Forgotten, and I'm really excited about
That's
it.
awesome.
So I don't know why I was telling you that, but if you had Spanish, I'm going to say you're very familiar with Spanish and Italian. If you had another language that you could just immerse yourself in right now, what would it be?
Chinese.
Legit? You would do it?
Yeah, legit. I can study in Greek. I don't know about modern Greek. I haven't really tried, but like classical Greek, New Testament Greek, I can clumsify through that just because of my New Testament stuff. But like, I don't know. We were supposed to do stuff with Hebrew in school, and I got nothing.
Why do you want Chinese?
Because it just opens up a whole completely different world. What percentage of Earth does that now open up to me in terms of people I can meet and talk with, share a meal with?
About 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me that. I don't even remember which one is the big one. Cantonese, Mandarin would be the big one, right? Cantonese is more southern.
I don't know the difference.
Oh, we talked about this a while back. I don't know for sure either. Yeah. If I could just instantly have mastery of a language downloaded into my brain, I would take New Testament Greek.
Interesting.
Because I would just love, I spend all that time with that document. I want to know it super well, love to study it and understand it. I'd love to study the surrounding documentation, and the amount of my field that being a master of classical Greek would open up to me would be incredible. If we're talking about now, though, give me whatever gets me the most people. I think that's got to be Chinese, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What about you?
That or Hindi. So one thing I want to couch this next statement in is that this has been told to me. I don't know this to be true, but have you heard the concept of an agglutinin language?
No, I don't know that word at all.
Okay, so I'm told, I don't know this, but I'm told that German is an agglutinin language.
Agluten?
I think so. Let me
like
Google
an
it.
umlaut on the U or something?
Language. Agglutinin? No, maybe gluten language? GLU, like gluten free. Oh, I have no idea. How do you say gluten? I don't know. One time, a guy in Germany told me that it's an agglutinin language.
Okay.
For my first contact Google, this is apparently wrong. But
Okay.
whatever. If you were to say, hey, check out that bird on the wire, that little red zippy bird or whatever.
Okay.
In German, you take the word bird,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the last part of the word. And then you add a modifier on, backing up from right to left, you add modifiers on, and there is a new word that defines what you're saying.
Like Sputbagen.
What is that? What is that?
One time I flew on a German airline. They had barf bags, and I took it out, and I was like, I wonder how you say barf bag. And Sputbagen. Holy cow. Look, it says Sputbagen. I don't know if that's exactly right, but it was like, yeah, I see exactly what they did there.
Yeah, so I may be wrong about this. So I just Google translate little red bird, kleiner rote Vogel.
It's so cool.
But it's 3 words. So I'm getting some of this wrong. All I know is that don't play Scrabble with the Germans because they will wax you.
That's fair.
I have a 17 letter long word because you add the modifiers onto that. I've always thought that was interesting, and clearly I'm thinking about this wrong.
You know what I'm thinking about?
What's that?
This little pin that I still have right here in my brain space.
I see it.
You want to know what it is?
Pull it out.
We used to go to Wendy's and we would complain. Like, we were always super nice. Like, we're not going to be mean to somebody. But without really complaining about the person. Like, this is a reflection on your character, lady. We would go through the line and we'd be like, man, it's America. Speak English. That's what I thought as an 18-year-old. I don't know. I'm not proud to say that into a microphone, but that's just what I thought. And Camilla was in the same boat. I don't think we were ever anything but kind, other than harboring that sense of just what's just and right and how things ought to be.
You guys, but
in our hearts.
Let me caveat this. Like, I've met a lot of people, but I've met very, very few people who are as sensitive and have opened their homes as much as you have to immigrants that speak Spanish. Like, I don't know many people who've, just straight up opened the doors and been like, hey, you live with us now. You guys have done that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're about to say,
That's kind.
I'm detecting that this is a different time in your life.
It's how we got to this time in our lives. And then we got to thinking about it. Like, I got to learning about the West. I'm a big fan of the West. That doesn't mean I don't like the East, but I like Western ethics. I like the Western tradition. And gradually it occurred to me, hey, Spain is part of that. We might not worship the same God the exact same way, but man, I got a lot in common with them Latin American Catholics down there. How about that? And just gradually you start to find these points of affinity as you age a little bit. And then at some point, you hear the story like what you shared, I don't know, whatever it was, a year ago, about a journey of immigration through all kinds of peril and horrors that people go through, and the heartbreaking sorrow of Paco's death, the bird that that died along the way, and that harrowing family journey that we heard about. You know, you start to learn about just what people are going through and what forces would cause somebody to do that and take those risks with their family. And then you start to feel like a jackass forever having harbored dark thoughts. And then pretty soon you're like, how do you even help? Like, what could I do? There are people in my town next door, and Camilla was the first one to be like, we should just learn Spanish. Like, let's just start by being able to talk. And that's why we learned it. She went and became an English tutor to help people learn English who came to the country mostly illegally for kind of under the table jobs. And she went and found where these folks were, and she knew they had no chance unless they learned English. So she just looked them up and taught them how to speak English. In the process, she accidentally learned Spanish. Then I went back to college to study Spanish. So I kind of developed this more formal version of it, more structurally oriented, like all the vocabulary words. And she developed this wonderful ability to listen because it was the only way she could communicate with her students who were here illegally. And so you put us together, and it's kind of an interesting Spanish as a second language mix. Well, along the way, Camilla gets really into that and starts figuring out, like she goes back to school for English as a second language. And how do you teach somebody from scratch, from nothing, to speak a new language? And she could do this with anybody on earth, dude. It's amazing. She could do this with people who don't even use the same sounds necessarily. That's what she's studied. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
And so right now, she's got a friend from Brazil. Really cool lady, cool family. And her friend needs to pass an exam in order to get into a college to take her next steps. But English is really hard. And so they're doing a bunch of intensive study. I called and checked in with Camilla today. Couldn't catch her because she's at the library, just like she is every day with this one student.
Volunteer?
Oh, yeah. And just doing huge investments of time. And she keeps giving me the update. Hey, we did a practice test again. 83. We're almost there. We got to get to 90.
It has to be 90?
Got to get to 90 on this one particular practice test to be able to enroll in classes, stay here on a student visa, and take the next steps. But like, you got to cram English. And so they're taking it on together as friends and just working on this language thing. And it's really, really cool. In the process of this, I've been in the other room. I've even been in there looking over shoulders. And at times Camilla calls me in as they're sitting at the dining room table working on it this summer. And she's like, hey, how would you explain this? This weird, like what's the simplest way to say what an adverb does? So from simple things like that are just basic grammar, but how do you say it to somebody who's not a native English speaker, all the way up to some of the weird quirks about spelling. Like, hey, do you know any rule for through, thorough, though, trough?
No.
How do you separate those out? And I mean, my take is like, I don't know, memorize it. But I keep having my eyes opened to the weird, quirky stuff about English as I'm just around watching Camilla work to help her student prepare for this thing. And so that'd be fun to jump on mics and be like, hey, look at some of these things that keep coming up. And that's why it's been on my mind.
That's very interesting.
I want to pause for a second here because I want to do an ad. Somebody's kind enough to sponsor this program. We'll talk about that in a second. But I got a whole bunch more quirks, like kind of back to the fun we were having at the beginning.
Yeah.
Are you down for more?
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it. This episode of Notable Questions is sponsored by Audible. Matt, did I tell you about the book I listened to recently on Audible called Man's Search for Meaning?
Yes-ish.
I did tell you about this?
I know that you were consuming Man's Search for Meaning, but I don't think you've told me about the audiobook.
It's by Viktor Frankl. And what's interesting about Dr. Frankl is that he is basically he did behavioral psychology, and he was actually in a camp in Germany in World War II.
Okay.
So in a concentration camp. And so he got to analyze what makes people tick from the inside while he was on the inside, when he was seeing them in their most desperate positions ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So, for example, people would save cigarettes, right? You would like kind of hide cigarettes. Apparently that was a big thing in concentration camps.
Currency.
And he noticed that when people quit caring and they just started blowing through all the stuff they've saved, he's like, that person's got about a week to live before they give up.
How about that?
He noticed things like that. And he said the people that had external things that they were fighting for, those were the people that made it. So it's an interesting book, and he goes through many different stories, and it sounds like it would be awful, but it's very, very interesting because it makes me realize how I need to interact with other people around me. So I highly recommend that. Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. What about you? What do you listen to?
Very differently from that. I've been listening to an audiobook called Persian Fire by Tom Holland.
Tell me about that audiobook.
Okay. It's not really about Athens and Sparta, but Persia makes more sense if you understand the foil. It's from the Persian point of view, and I'd say it's pretty empathetic to the Persian achievement. And that's very different than you normally get the story of the classical world and Xerxes and Darius or Darius and Leonidas and the Spartans and all of that business. And so, first of all, it's just interesting to get the story of Athenian democracy from a different perspective. Very interesting to get the description of the Spartans from a not sympathetic perspective. Because Sparta, like, Molon Labe, come take them, sucker. Like, yeah, Sparta, that's awesome. No one would like living in Sparta.
Really?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. No,
Why?
Because it's a communist, military, non-individualistic, horribly violent, war-based society.
Really?
Where you're stripped of dignity and you dispose of anyone who physically can't contribute. I mean, literally, the Spartan hoplite, the Spartan phalanx, in order for that to work on the battlefield, required building an entire system of life and society and child rearing and food cultivation. All of that had to happen to make the phalanx thing work on the battlefield. And it did work. I mean, their bizarre way of cultivating life and society beat the most powerful army on planet Earth at the time. So
Persia.
Yeah, so props to Sparta for what they did, but don't think that came cheap or that Sparta was like America and they just believed in the power of gumption and through the power of focus and patriotism, they defeated No, they gave up a lot to be the military force that they were. And I think this audiobook does a great job of getting you into the intrigue within the Persian court and the maybe even less attractive details of what was going on in Greece at the same time.
Is that for somebody like me? Like, I don't know, ancient history to the level that you do. Could I enjoy that audiobook?
Every lick of it.
Really?
You would love it, and you would get it.
Really?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Persian Fire, and it's by Tom Holland.
Okay.
Tom Holland writes, not the one who plays Spider-Man. Tom Holland writes cool, understandable, well-researched, digestible books that don't try to accomplish some brand new thing, but just do a great job of bringing you up to speed on the stuff that is generally agreed upon by historians, whereas a lot of history work really takes you into whatever the new debate is. And it's kind of passé to talk about the known story. Well, that's well-trod territory. We don't need to get into that. We need to get into this tiny little bit of minutia that no one cares about. I like consuming history audiobooks like this from time to time to just stay fresh on the story.
I just got it.
Excellent.
Yeah, your recommendation works. So Persian Fire by Tom Holland. Looks like it's 14 hours. I typically listen to about 1.3x.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Absolutely. Thanks for trying it.
So what's our promo code? Like, people can actually sign up for Audible.
Yes.
What is it? Audible.com/NDQ, I'm guessing.
Promo code NDQ, or you can text NDQ to 500-500, and then you get a free month of Audible. That's an audiobook credit as well as access to the whole library, the whole Plus catalog.
That's awesome. Yeah, check it out. Well, you won this time. I'm getting your book.
Hey, awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited about it. Thanks again for supporting the sponsor at audible.com/NDQ. Use the promo code NDQ on there. Or you can text NDQ to 500-500. Free month of Audible. You get access to the Plus catalog.
You ready for another exercise?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to try adding the word only to the following sentence, wherever you think it goes.
Okay.
Ready? She told him that she loved him.
She only told him that she loved him.
You think that's correct?
She only told him. Well, it depends. Like, what I just said is she only told him one thing. That's what I just said. She told him that she only loved him.
Oh.
What does that even
not
mean?
wanted to marry him, but like, will you marry me? No, I only love you, but I will not marry you.
Yeah.
See? So, yeah, okay. So it could go there. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
two very different meanings.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how this could
So
get
those are the two places it could go?
this. Yeah, I think so. She told him that she loved him. She told only him
Oh, yeah.
that she loved him. So you told one person.
Mm-hmm.
She told him that only she loved him.
Oh, yeah. That okay.
Okay, so
That's 4.
that means that this guy's life is pretty sad.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Loved only him. She told him that she loved only him.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah, that worked.
that's monogamy. Okay. She told him that she loved him only. I guess that
You
could.
can put it there too. I
Yeah.
love you and you only.
Only she told him that she loved him.
Yeah.
So it could go anywhere.
Literally anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the
God,
point.
that was hard.
The correct answer is anywhere.
But it changes the meaning of the sentence.
Mm-hmm. It does. Did you ever hear the quaint, I think it's like a mid-20th century song that plays with the English language. It's called Put the Pickle Down, Uncle John.
No.
The song is just Put the Pickle Down, Uncle John, but each verse is a different emphasis. Put the pickle down, Uncle John. Put it down. Uncle John, please back away from the pickle. Put the pickle down, Uncle John.
Okay.
Okay. Or,
What?
hey, everybody, come on. It's time to put the pickle down, Uncle John. Uncle John, I know you don't like this, but it's very important that you take your pickle. Right? Like,
Okay.
they're just,
You saw the look of confusion on my face. Like, what are we doing with this pickle and Uncle John?
so,
Okay.
So the exercise that you will see floating around the internet for this that I think is a little bit easier to play with
Yeah.
is the following.
Okay.
I never said she stole my money. Where could you put the emphasis in this sentence?
I never said she stole my money. What?
Let's
Okay.
just try every single. Let's just
Okay.
try every single one.
I never said she stole my money.
What does that mean?
That means like somebody else said it.
Right.
I never said she stole my money.
Well, let's just go in order.
Okay.
I never said she stole my money. What does that mean?
That means I never made an accusation.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I never said that.
I never said she stole my money. So, like, she did, but
If that's what you happen to think and it happens to be right, I never said that, technically.
I never said she stole my money. So, what is that one?
Well, somebody stole it, but I never said it was her specifically.
I never said she stole my money. Oh, that's a bad one. Yeah. So, like, yeah. Okay, got it.
She has it. I'm not saying how she got it. I didn't say she stole it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I never said she stole my money. Okay.
She stole Chuck's money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I never said she stole my money. That's interesting. Yeah.
She stole my stuff. It just wasn't my money. My money's still there.
In Chinese, like, I've been told, I do not know a single word in Chinese, but I'm told it's a tonal language,
Okay.
and where you put emphasis on different parts of the word can completely change the word. I've heard that. And I used to, like, think about how awful that would be. But now that you're saying this, I realize that English is pretty much awful.
Well, see, again, I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think these are features, not bugs.
Oh.
So think about that. If I say, I never said she stole my money, you know exactly what I meant, and I didn't have to waste any additional words.
Okay.
It worked. That's very efficient. And the meaning is very clear. Now, would that hold up in court if you had an audio recording? Probably. If you had a video and audio recording, more likely that would hold up in court. If you merely had a transcript or a handwritten note, probably wouldn't hold up.
Interesting.
Isn't it, though?
So there's so much that's communicated in between the words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because
context matters.
My weird rule of semiotics, stuff means stuff.
Yeah.
Everything has meaning. Anybody who tells you that there is a thing that doesn't mean anything just doesn't understand yet. They'll come around. Everything has meaning. Stuff means stuff.
Okay.
Including leaning my head forward and emphasizing one word in that sentence.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
The second his head is in view, hit it with the rock. That's what it sounded like.
You're really good at that.
Okay, here's another one. Ready?
Yes.
Check out how weird it feels when I flip these pairs. Cheese and Mac.
Oh, stop it.
Jill and Jack.
Stop it.
Juliet and Romeo.
Oh.
That is completely white and black.
Oh, man.
Doesn't it feel just terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's move on from that one.
Oh, I don't like it. Stop.
Yeah. Roll and rock, brother.
Okay.
I don't know. We could do this all day, but they're fun little exercises in part because it helps you appreciate the little subtleties and nuance of the language that enable it to carry a greater burden than a simpler language. But I think it's also really interesting when you break down some of these things or have them pointed out to you. And not all of this stuff is work other people did. I'm just borrowing it from the internet. I didn't do it. But it holds up a little bit of a mirror and you realize just how much you are both able to say through intuition and a true nimble mastery of the language, but also how much you're able to hear and get from people. And when I go and speak Spanish with people, I'm missing all of this.
Oh, I am too.
I'm a simpleton. I'm a rube. I'm the kind of person that everybody would giggle about afterwards if I were a native Spanish speaker.
Oh, no, they giggle in front of me.
Oh, well, yeah, that too. But I mean, come on. I've never met anybody who speaks Spanish and then I screw something up and they're like, you fool, you should just quit. This language is for us. Get lost. Like, heck no. Everybody's happy that you're trying. I mean, I've never met anybody.
I did a
who's
little
jerk about
play one
language.
time. It was like a little silly play, and I was supposed to yell for my father.
Okay.
And I said, Papa, Papa.
That sounded good to me.
That was potato. I just yelled for my potato. And so, is it Papa, Papa, right? Did I say it wrong?
Well, I don't know. They were both fine.
One
Or
of
you
them-
were it was in Spanish.
In Spanish.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand now.
Papa, Papa. That's potatoes.
Yeah, sure.
Papa, Papa.
Yeah, the emphasis
Right?
says a little different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like somebody saying, where is the body? Where did you leave it? I hid it in the dessert. Like, wait a dang minute. The body's in the cake, boys.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's a touch different emphasis. Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about how language is different in the South than it is where you are. Yeah, your accent is much more neutral. Like it's just not a thing to you. Like you never have to think about, oh, I picked up the phone and I called a person and they heard my accent. And they're like, oh, this person's pretty nice. Probably dumb as a box of rocks.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting, isn't
Right. I don't have to think about that because I have the generic English accent. And by English, I mean American Midwestern, that's just newscaster accent.
So I have a Southern accent, and I was in an engineering situation one time. Have I told you this story?
I don't know. I'm going to find out.
I was in an engineering situation where it was a military project, and we were trying to work on something.
Sounds like a thing that would happen in that kind of an environment.
You
okay.
understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so we had this meeting, and we're talking to a guy that comes in the room talking like this right here. He's like, man, you wouldn't believe how this thing works, man. Shoot, I got this. I'm just going to make stuff up. It's got an encabulator that runs backwards. You ever seen that? Dude, you'd have no idea what was going on unless you took that. You would tell you what, you reverse the polarity of these two wires right here. That encabulation starts to cavitate, man. Craziest thing you ever saw in your life. And so, what was so interesting, all that was made up and none of that meant anything.
Yes, of course.
But just trust me, it was important. Like, it was very...
He wasn't making crap up. He said stuff that was...
He said stuff that
wildly
was so...
complex, multisyllabic, and accurate.
So technically accurate and wildly competent and just... So,
but all with that ba-ding-a-ding-dang accent.
Dabba-doo-dabba-doo, it's like crazy. But what's so interesting is before we got in the room where we could have that little talk, I met the guy, like in the hall. And they're like, basically it was like, hey, we're going to go meet the wizard. I was like, oh man, we're going to go meet the wizard, and we meet Cletus out there in the hall and he's talking like this. And I was like, man, this guy's fun. Kind of, I mean, I bet he's really good to have like at a tractor pull or something like that. This guy's great. And then once I realized I was talking to the wizard the whole time, even I, a Southern man, I had a prejudice with his accent. And I was like, man, this guy's pretty cool. Probably dumb as a box of rocks, but man, he's fun. And then I realized, like, when I realized the guy was from Mississippi, when I realized who I was talking to, and when I realized I was in the presence of greatness, legitimate greatness, someone who had used the full might of their intellect and their technical prowess and their skills to figure something out that was extremely important for the free world.
Wow.
I teared up. I was right there. That's the second time in a few episodes I told you I teared up. But I was in a technical meeting, and I teared up, and I turned around, and I started coughing. I was like, oh, man, that's crazy.
That's weird. Yes. I'm obviously fine
so
emotionally.
Weird. So weird. Look at that encabulation whisker biscuit
nothing
over there.
Emotional happened. I wouldn't be crying.
and I was, and what it was is I had the sudden realization that America is built of all different kinds of people, and we're all working for the same ideals, and it was like incredible unity, and so I loved it. That's one of my things. If there's a group of people that are different and they're all working towards the same thing,
that gets you.
Yeah,
it's like little girls running for me.
It is. I don't know what the deal is, dude.
And just to be clear, it's not that a little girl is like running. It's not that. It's the mix of vulnerability and beauty and also courage. It's not just the act of running. It's the boldness and the courage, and I'm going out into the great wide world, and I don't care about the risk or what expectations should be. I'm going to go get them. That mix of those two things, beauty and courage, that's what really gets me.
There was something about this guy and knowing that everybody he came in contact with in his normal day-to-day life
thought he was an idiot.
Thought he was maybe not an idiot, but thought he was nothing.
Simple?
Yeah, simple.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was one of the most intelligent people I had ever met technically up to that point. And I've met a lot of just brilliant people. And the fact that this man was just head and shoulders above everybody, and he didn't care if anybody knew it. I was like, man, that's true humility. And I get to see you in your secret place when you're smart, and you have to communicate the super smart things that you know, and you don't. And he wasn't sugarcoating it, and he wasn't trying to look smart. He just was.
Time to do the thing.
And it was awesome. It was really, really cool. I really liked it. I feel the same way when I speak broken Spanish with a person who works really, really hard, and they're really, really good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a similar feeling. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I feel it when I think of my youthful attitudes toward Latin American immigrants and their fledgling mastery of a new language versus what I now appreciate and understand goes into that lifestyle and the challenge of crossing that cultural divide and coming into a situation that's very, very difficult and in many ways very much stacked against them, including just the difficulty of the language. There was a time where I thought I was better. I was a kid. I was a little kid when I thought that. But just intuitively, before you know how to form these ideas, you're just like, yeah, well, my family's from here. Like, I don't know. These are kind of, these are guests. And I'm a junior high kid. And, like, I'm from here. It wasn't like I don't like you or any kind of tension, but just like this assumption. Like, there's kind of a, one of us has our feet on the ground, has roots down, and one of us is still, new and sizing it up. Now that is completely flipped in my brain to No, I have more admiration for the challenge of saying, I'm going to take a big risk. I'm going to go do something hard. I'm going to go learn an incredibly difficult language that's loaded with potential. And I'm going to do it out of service to my family and try something new and different that I think is right. I feel huge admiration for that courage and conviction.
We are so blessed to have been born in a place where we spoke English, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the opportunity that itself affords us is incredible.
Despite being dirt poor, I still feel like I won the lottery.
I get it. I want to say that the fact that your wife works with people who don't speak English, and you said you called her and she was at a library helping someone right now, today?
Every day, yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's admirable. Camilla's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Es posible para, ¿cómo se dice? Comercial para Patreon en español?
Sí, es posible.
Sí, tú primero. No tengo muchas palabras. Es difícil para mí. So,
Ok, entiendo. Ok, primera vez. Gracias a todo de ustedes quien apoyan este programa en el sitio web patreon.com/nodumbquestions.
sí.
Es importante y este programa no existe sin ustedes. Entonces, gracias otra vez.
Sí. How do you say also?
También.
También es importante para familias.
Sí.
Tu familia y mi familia. Es el Winged Hussars.
Yes.
Oh, man. Es muy difícil, pero es divertido. Gracias para todo personas. I'm going to look up Winged Hussars in Spanish real quick. This is, yeah, I think people understand. You have to read through the language and get to our hearts. You know, it's interesting though how you can do so much. Like you can Winged Hussars. Okay. Oh. Winged Hussars en español.
Okay.
Es muy fuerte. Husares alados.
That's pretty good.
Gracias.
Is there a pecking order for Southern accents? Because there's not just one Southern accent. I mean, is that like Foghorn, Leghorn, Louisiana thing? Where does that one rank?
Well, it depends on where you're at and what you're doing.
Okay.
If you're on the job site, usually the person with the most outlandish Southern accent has authority.
What would that sound like?
You know what's interesting is I worked on a job site recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got an upcoming video on Smarter Every Day. We built an irrigation pivot, and the jefe on the job, solo hablamos español. Total, how do you say team in Spanish?
Partido?
¿Cómo?
Equipo.
Equipo.
Yeah, working together, play a thing.
Todo equipo hablamos español. Todo día. So we spoke Spanish all day long. See, that was bad. I know that was bad, but I knew some of the words, right? So here in America, we needed to build this thing. And I went out and I was like, hey, can I work? I'm going to make a video about this. Can I work on the team? And they're like, sure, whatever. But it took me a long time to get in. Like it took me about 2 or 3 hours to be accepted. And the people that were...
That's actually really good.
What? 2 or 3 hours is cool.
That's a very welcoming crew.
It took 5 hours for me to be running the forklift. And so...
That was your goal.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
And so like when you're lifting the whole pivot and people are bolting stuff up and they're giving you instructions in Spanish and you're doing it was great. So the boss only spoke Spanish. The workers, there were 2 workers, they spoke English. Isn't that interesting? And so that's the crew I worked on for 2.5 days. And I got done, and they recognized that I didn't know exactly what to do to begin with, but I was a quick study. They taught me what to do, and I would do it.
It's kind of your superpower.
Whatever. And I would basically figure out what they did not want to do, and I did that. And I did it as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the key. And so we need to open all these packages of bolts and lay them out. I'm on that. It is already done. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got done, shot the video. It's really cool. Excited to share that with you. But at the end of the day, they were working with old tools. And I was like, I got to give you some new tools. And so I went and got them a new impact driver and some stuff like that. But the dynamic of working on a crew where the two leaders were from Mexico, and the other two people that were on the crew were not from Mexico, that was fun. It was really fun. And there was total respect up and down the chain, both ways.
Oh, it's a meritocracy. That's competence in motion. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm excited for America to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was young, there was legislation in Alabama about immigration that was pretty harsh. And now I'm like, I can see an America where Spanish is spoken primarily in sections of it. There's a nearby county. There's a little city, Albertville. Awesome place. If you can speak Spanish in that area, you can get around pretty well. You can do a lot of stuff. So I'm cool with the future with Spanish being a big part of the spoken language.
Theoretically, as it mingles with English, it should only help English to better bear the burden of complex ideas. And again, there are other languages that can do this as well. Historic Chinese does a great job with this. Latin, Greek, Hebrew, obviously, French, German, and I could go on and on. There are languages that do a remarkable job of bearing the burden of ideas. English is phenomenal at it, though. And the threat to English really handling all of the burden of those complex ideas is not being around other complex languages and having more loanwords and more exchange. That should only help because it makes you understand your language better. Like the threat is probably more just texting and the internet as we're like, whatever, we just put the words in this order and it'll work. But those little things that just gradually we do that don't follow some of the important rules of English may have the cumulative effect of reducing English's ability to do some clever little nuanced things that you don't know you need, but that we kind of get out of the habit. And then even if the structure is still technically there on paper, but nobody remembers how to use it, there could be a diminishing there. But I'm with you. I kind of like where the future is headed, and I got a soft spot especially for Spanish. And if I had not studied a little bit of Spanish to try to keep up with my wife, there's so many things about English that I just never would have learned. But it's been really fun from studying other languages to come back to my own and realize just how weird and goofy and entertaining, as we've seen today, that it actually is.
Sí, igualmente.